Hello guys, here Tech99 here and welcome to another NRL and tips predictions now for round 22 as we are finally getting into the final four matches of the season where for some teams it basically comes down to this on whether or not they make finals football or if they have home finals, yada yada yada, stuff like that. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the opening game for round 22, it is a actual huge match in terms of the top four circumstances. It is the Penrith Panthers hosting the Melbourne Storm. Now, last week Penrith did get their win with Luai and Cleary out. They also have another player out as James Fisher-Harris has actually got a 2-game ban. But they won 26-6 over the Canberra Raiders. Also another player that got suspended from that game, Ricky Stewart, he's copped a 1-match ban for his tirade on Jamin Salmon, which was actually announced today. The Melbourne Storm, they did okay. They did let the Titans back in the game roughly around in the first half, but they did start to run away with it. So it was an alright performance, but then again, the Storm have very much have had problems with injuries and COVID protocol. But to look at it from this game, so both teams have a few players out. I know a few players will have protocol because Justin Olam was out because he had COVID protocols, but he should be back in this. And personally, I think that Melbourne will probably be coming in here with the strongest squad. So I think for the first time this season, I'm actually going to tip against Penrith. So I'm going to tip the Storm will take the win here. Just to make the race for the minor premiership a little bit interesting, because pretty much Penrith need to lose their next 3 games, and if the Cowboys win their next 3 games, so then the round 25 clash, which is the final game of the regular season, is between the Cowboys and the Panthers, and it could decide who wins the minor premiership. I don't think we'll get to that stage, but it'd be nice. Now we go to the first game on the Friday, and it is back over New Zealand as it is the Warriors taking on the Bulldogs. Now, the Warriors, they did not have a good game against South Sydney. South almost put 40 points on them in the first half. Did slow down in the second half. But it's just one of those, unfortunately, the performances that are starting to become a bit too consistent with the Warriors, unfortunately. The Dogs had an alright game against the Cowboys up at Bundaberg, but the Cowboys were able to pull away with it in the second half. It's hard to say this game, obviously, because it's in New Zealand, but I do feel like it should be, I think it might be actually quite a close game, but I think the Bulldogs should just be able to edge it out. Now we go to the final game of the Friday, and this is probably the biggest match of the round. It is the Parramatta Eels taking on the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Now, 2 teams that I haven't... It's weird. I'm not fully convinced that either of them are somewhat of a potential premiership threat. I know it's weird to say, especially with like Parramatta, because they're the only team to beat Penrith, and they've beaten them twice. But it's just that they're so hot and cold, it is ridiculous. But South are very much on a consistent winning streak at the moment. And also Parramatta did get that win over Manly, which is pretty much almost guaranteed the ending of Manly's charge for the finals. But yeah, this game is going to be very hard to predict. It's going to be close. I potentially even golden point, I feel. But I think Parramatta might win this. Personally, I would probably tip Parramatta. If Parramatta win this game, if they beat South Sydney, they have to be considered somewhat of a title threat. Somewhat. Because Parramatta are still trying to charge for a top 4 spot, which would very much be interesting in South. So both teams I think are very much safe. So this is really just to try to get better positioning and potentially have a home final. I mean, both teams... I mean, technically, if they stay where they are, they both have home elimination finals, but I don't know, you maybe want that. Oh, if you lose, a bit of security sort of thing. Now we go on to the first game on the Saturday, as it's the Sydney Roosters taking on the North Queensland Cowboys. Roosters had a somewhat, actually decent win last week as they beat Brisbane. Very much needed as the Roosters are trying to hang on to 8th spot for dear life, trying to bring out as much points as possible. And you've also got the Cowboys, who did get their win against the Dogs last week. It's kind of weird because Sportsbet actually has the Roosters as the favourites at the moment, but and that's the thing, because the Roosters obviously, Cowboys are fine with it, but I think the Roosters will definitely need to charge for it because they need to build up those points up to keep themselves in 8th. But I personally feel that the Roosters are actually going to win this game. I just feel like there's a lot more motivation for it for the Roosters. I think the Cowboys may put out like a somewhat weaker team maybe, but yeah, that is the main thinking for me behind this. I think the Roosters should be able to win the match. Now we go to the second game on the Saturday, and we're going to Tamworth as the West Tigers take the Cronulla Sharks. The West Tigers should have won last week against the Knights because the Knights were trying to give them the fucking win for about 40 minutes. But unfortunately, being the Tigers, they just couldn't capitalise on it. They had chance after chance after chance, but still couldn't score. The Sharks, on the other end, did have an alright win against the Brisbane Broncos, the St George Dragons. It was an alright game. The Sharks were able to take control of it. It just did pretty darn well. I mean, I feel for this game, the Sharks should run away with it. I mean, it's not to say that I don't like the Tigers, but it's just, I mean, Cronulla are third, and they're actually, you know, it's one of those basically. Now we go to the main event game on the Saturday night, and it is the Brisbane Broncos hosting the Newcastle Knights. So, Brisbane did coming off that loss against the Roosters last week. It was a bit of a weird performance and stuff like that. The Knights are coming off a win against the Tigers. I don't know how the hell they still hang on and won that, because honestly, we were probably the worst team out of that matchup. So I'm expecting Brisbane to put 50 on the Knights. Like, this usually happens. It always usually happens. So I think Brisbane are going to dominate this game. Now we go to the first game on the Sunday, as it is the Canberra Raiders taking on the St George Illawarra Dragons. So it's 9th versus 11th. This is actually a very big game for both teams, as Canberra, if they win this, they can hold on to being right on the neck of the Roosters. And if the Dragons win, they could keep themselves in the finals. Basically, if the Dragons lose, they're out. They cannot make the finals. So yeah, it's going to be a very interesting game here. Canberra lost to the Penrith last week. They did all right in circumstance, but Penrith were able to get away with it, and the Dragons are coming off a loss to the Sharks, and they'll be without Tarek Sims, who is out for the rest of the season with his 4-game suspension. So I personally think Canberra should be able to win this, and it should finally end the finals hopes for the Dragons. And now we go on to the final game in this round, and it is the Gold Coast Titans hosting the Manly Sea Eagles. So both teams coming off somewhat big losses. Titans to Melbourne and the Sea Eagles to Parramatta. It's a hard game. It's a hard game to decide, because obviously probably like not everyone should be saying, oh, Manly should win, but you don't know, because Manly haven't really been showing up over the last few weeks. Well, I personally think the Titans have, and I feel like this game, in terms of motivation now, because pretty much the spoon battle at the moment is between the Tigers and the Titans at the moment. That's pretty much what it is. I think the Knights are safe somehow. Honestly, it should be us and the Titans fighting it, and in all honesty, I don't think the Titans deserve the spoon. I think the Knights deserve it, but I just feel like this game will be the game where the Titans come out to fucking play. And I'm actually going to predict that the Gold Coast Titans will beat Manly. That's a bit of a hot call, but yeah, I think that's what is going to happen. So those are my predictions for NRL Round 22. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all later.